lovely sunny Saturday here at our mountain homestead. Everybody finished up with breakfast, so I went out to see what everybody was up to. Some of the kids are helping with firewood and some are just going around picking up little pieces of trash. It is so gorgeous outside right now with all of the fall colors. We have mostly evergreens where we live, but there are deciduous trees here and there, and oh my gosh, do they ever pop this time of year. Now I'm back inside, all cozied up, and I'm going to see what all I can get done with before the day is up. I have some calendula here that I would like to make some oil with so that I can make salve with it in a couple weeks to a month. I have my master's in herbology and I've been making salve for years. And it's such a fun thing to do. I usually make salve in the fall. I would also like to make some salsa verde with tomatillos from the garden. I have been canning all week after school lessons. And so far this week, I have made pear butter from a friend. She gave me some pears. And then I made salsa. I have another 20 pounds of pears to do something with. And so I need to decide what I'm gonna do with those soon. We pulled all of our tomatoes last weekend in preparation for the upcoming frost. You guys, can you hear my husband outside on the tractor? I hope it's not too loud. Since we pulled all of our tomatoes, it means I have boxes and boxes of green tomatoes ripening indoors. Every couple days I have to go through all of them. There's usually another batch that is ready to process. So I decided this year to try the trick of popping the tomatoes in the freezer until I have a large batch to can for salsa. Another thing that I have been doing this week that is exciting to me is I have peppers. We have peppers galore. So I learned that I can ripen them and get them red in my windowsills. And then I can roast them for roasted red peppers. So I've been doing that as well and freezing them. We were so blessed with such a huge abundant harvest from the garden this year. Guys, it was a lot of hard work, but it paid off. We're gonna be eating really well through this winter, better than we normally get to eat. One of the regrets that I have though is, I don't know if you guys saw the video from a couple weeks ago, or maybe it's been a couple months ago now. It's been a couple months ago, I think now. I think it was a full month ago. It was September 20th that I posted that video. I think it was that video I showed you guys my new cookbook, my fermentation cookbook for fermenting vegetables. So we learned that we absolutely love the recipes in that book. You guys, we are going through like a whole quart of the sauerkraut a night. It's that good. Of course, we are a larger family, so for us to go through a quart of sauerkraut a night is not really saying much, but you know, usually with my recipes that I came up with before, we would have maybe half of a quart gone in one setting. With this though, we are just blowing right through all of it. So I realized I should have made more. So next year's garden, I'm definitely going to be making sauerkrauts from probably August all the way through till the time that we harvest the cabbage, because all of it is probably gonna go into sauerkraut and fermented krauts. I do have just a few cabbages left though. If I have time today, I would like to make some more of the fermented krauts. This is my first year freezing the tomatoes, and I did learn that it's really important that you inspect them and make sure there are no spots that need to be cut out, or no spots in these that are starting to turn bad, because if there are, it will influence the taste of the whole batch. One of the advantages to doing this is that when you pull these out of the freezer and thaw them, the skins slip right off, so you don't have to blanch these for a minute to get the skins off like you would normally need to do. These are San Marzanos, and they are the pride and joy of our garden this year. These are the Italian paste tomato, and I didn't know if they would grow very well here, but they did marvelously. These are a lower acid tomato, and they're a little sweeter, so they're wonderful for pizza sauce. If you've ever eaten true Neapolitan pizza at a Neapolitan pizza restaurant, you've probably had San Marzano's. They just make the most luxurious and delicious sauce. I am packaging these in my ZWILLING bags. This is the little hand pump, and it doesn't need to be charged very often, but I went to use it and it actually needs to be charged today. It holds a charge for a very long time. So I charged it and now we're ready to go. I do recommend these bags and the pump system. I find them very useful. And I've had these bags for over a year now and they're still going strong. I do have to clean them out with either a little bit of bleach or peroxide though after using them sometimes, depending on what was in them. Oh, and if you are doing anything that is juicy, make sure you freeze it before you use the pump, because if any water or moisture gets into the pump, it will ruin it. Don't ask how I know. These were peppers that were previously frozen. We have tomatoes and peppers spilling over. We literally have peppers stuffed in every single windowsill of our home right now. And the house is just cool enough that they're ripening nicely and they're turning red. Once we started up our wood stove, it only took one night of having the wood stove going for the peppers start to wilt a little bit, and so that was the end of ripening them in the window. We ended up freezing what was left. Freezing the tomatoes has been working very well, and it buys me time and it makes it so that I can save some of the canning and food processing for the weekend instead of trying to cram it in after school, which has been working a little bit better. So I do what I can after school on school days, but it can get quite exhausting sometimes. So I was so thankful to discover that I could just pop these in the freezer and save them for a weekend so that I don't have to be so spread thin each day. Tomatillos. You guys, have you had them? Maybe you have and you decided you didn't like the taste. Tomatillos are not really an acquired taste. I think it's more of a processing thing. And if you don't process these the right way, they're not that great, because I've had them before and I didn't like them, and then I've had them processed other ways and they were delicious. So one of my very favorite things to do with tomatillos is to make tomatillo salsa or salsa verde. I planted 7 tomatillo plants. That's how much we love these. I like to, in addition to making the salsa verde, I like to put them in our salsa. I can a lot of salsa each year because we use so much. I will put whole jars of salsa in beans once they're done cooking. Since salsa has vinegar, you do not want to put it in with the beans while they're cooking, otherwise it will make the beans' skins very tough. So I like to put things like the salsa verde and salsas in our beans when they're done cooking, and it makes a super fast chili. One thing about salsa verde is after you make it, the flavors need to marry. Some people like the taste straight away. Like my daughter thought it was magnificent eating it straight from the pan before it was even canned. She just came in and got a big old scoop while I was making it, and she loved it that way. Now, some people might not like it like that though. It is better if you let it sit for a couple weeks. I think it's supposed to sit for at least 2 weeks before you open your jars of salsa verde once you've canned them. And this allows for the flavors to, as they say, marry. And it is far more delicious. Salsa verde is one of our favorite salsas, to be honest. A lot of people have never had it, and I'm really surprised when I meet people that haven't had any. Once you guys try this though, you'll be just as sold as we are. I'm pretty confident. I like to use the Ball Blue Book canning book a lot. And so I get the recipe for our salsa verde from that book, and I find it is magnificent. Can you guys hear the saw outside? This smells so good. I wish you guys could smell it. Apparently this year, many people across the United States bought peppers, and these were all supposed to be poblano in Anaheim. They're not. Pretty sure they're all pepperoncinis. Across the United States, this was a thing. Apparently there was a big pepper mix-up somewhere, and a lot of the seed peppers, or the pepper seeds that went out this year, were not correct. So we are pickling pepperoncinis today. Next up, we are going to make some more curtido. This stuff is so good, you guys. It's the stuff I was telling you about that we eat a quart of a night lately. First off, we've got to get the carrots from the garden. We have been waiting to dig the majority of our carrots until after the first frost. So I learned that if you wait till after your first frost to dig your carrots, or the first couple of frosts, the carrots' sugars increase, or the sugars inside the carrots increase, and they have a longer storage life through the winter. So we're leaving most of our carrots until after the first frost, but I've been digging them as we need them for things like this. You definitely want to get that cookbook. I don't believe I can give you guys the exact recipe for it because of copyright issues, so I will just refer you to that cookbook. And I promise the cookbook is so worth it. It is the best fermentation cookbook I have found. One of the mistakes that I used to make in times past when I was adding spices to my ferments was I would add too many. And so one of the things I like about this cookbook is that the recipes are just right. They don't have you put too many spices in or too small of an amount of spices. It's just the right amount. And I found that you can mess a whole recipe of sauerkraut up if you put too little or too much in. As I'm making the curtido, I am also making some food for the family out working. We're doing sourdough bread today. I don't have a Dutch oven, but I do have a cast iron stock pot here, and it works just as good. And over here we have the tomatillo salsa going. Guys, check this out. It is the last of the garden onions. The onions did so well this year, and this is the last one, so I'm sad. I know my family is working really hard outside, and I want to make them a nice big meal for dinner tonight, so I'm making some bruschetta and fresh baked bread and chicken. And I decided for the bruschetta I would mosey on down to the garden and see if I could find just one last little bunch of basil, and I did, which I was excited about. Bruschetta's just not bruschetta without basil. For the homemaking portion of this video, you guys, I scored big this month. If you've been following me, you know my home decor style is boho with a hint of industrial. I like the mountain boho vibe. And there's been two pieces that I've been wanting to get my hands on for about 3 or 4 years now, but I couldn't afford them brand new. We are a large family and we live mainly off of one income. I do have part-time jobs, but I don't make enough with them to go beyond just buying curriculum and some clothing for our kids sometimes. So when it comes to things like new furniture, that's just something that is not in our budget at this time. However, when I find used furniture, that can be another matter. This month, I found for $9 a cabinet that I've been restoring. It's going to be probably a shoe cabinet because we really needed a shoe cabinet by our downstairs door. Another thing that I am so excited to have found that I have been looking for at least 3 years is a rattan shelf. I've been wanting one of these rattan shelves, like I said, for 3 years. I posted on Facebook that I was looking for one, and a friend that I barely know happened to notice that our church just down the road from us was having a rummage sale and had one of the shelves. I am so thrilled because the setup we had before in this area was industrial and it did not really work very well. It looked messy and unkept all of the time. So I was able to take all of that and move it into our office, which is primarily industrial themed. And I was able to put the rattan shelf here in the living room where it just makes the whole space look so much better. But that wasn't all I found at the rummage sale, guys. I actually found a rattan chair that I've been looking for. I just love these chairs. Take a look at this. It is so fun. So I am completely thrilled about these scores. I felt like the chair was a bonus blessing from the Lord because my children had just broke my very favorite chair and I actually did need to replace it. Our entire home is, I want to say, 80 to 85% thrifted. It is a boho theme, but I also call it the thrifted theme because, like I said, most of everything was either bought on clearance or thrifted. And that goes for beyond just the decor. That goes for a lot of the things that we use in our practical daily lives too, like bowls and cups and jars. I am a really big advocate of making your home and your space as beautiful as you can and a place that you enjoy being, since as a homemaker and a homeschool mom, it's where you're going to be spending all of your time. When I was growing up, we lived in a trailer for a large portion of my childhood. And for another portion of my childhood, or my teen years, we lived in what was going to be turned into a wood shop and what was eventually turned into a wood shop. Yet through it all, my mom always made the spaces very beautiful and as beautiful as she could. And she encouraged me to do that when I started on my own life journey almost 20 years ago. Our home isn't finished. As you can tell, I mean, we have unfinished windows everywhere. Downstairs is unfinished. And when I think too much about the areas that are not finished, and when I think about how long it's going to take us to get those spaces finished, since we're, working on it in our spare time and as we have the money, it's going painfully slow. I've been a homemaker for 30 years, but I've been a wife for almost 20 years now. And in all of those years, all 30 years, I've only lived in a finished home probably 7 of those years. When I think about that too much, it does get me down. I like polished, I like finished areas. And when I think about all of the unfinished areas, it can make the anxiety get quite intense. But the one thing that really helps through it all is practicing gratitude and doing the best I can with the spaces that I have.
We got everything here, at least to stay alive, and the time that we share makes it all worthwhile.
All right, I know what some of you are thinking. You're thinking, Shayla, those chairs went out of style like last year. And hello, rattan is out. I know, but the thing is, there needs to come a point in every woman's life where she just says, enough. I know what I like what I like, and I'm going to be content. My husband and I have been married for almost 20 years, and we started our family a little over 18 years ago. And we've seen some really difficult, really heart-wrenching times. We've also seen good times. Something I've learned along the way is that even in the good times, if you're not careful, enough is never enough. If you're a wife and a mother and a homemaker, I'm sure you remember back to a time not too long ago when you were none of those things, but you longed to become them. And one by one, as you became each one, there likely came a point in time when the shiny wore off. Now, for a lot of us, that happened probably around the time exhaustion set in and the really hard work of raising a family started. But something that I have noticed is that the most optimal time for discontentment to creep in is in the quiet hours, the dull moments, the monotonous ones, and the unproductive ones, or the ones that simply feel unproductive. This can leave us women, especially, I feel like, wondering, what's next? 1 Timothy 6:6 says, "Now there is great gain in godliness with contentment, for we brought nothing into the world, and we can take nothing out of the world." In Luke 12:15, we read, "And he said to them, Take care and be on your guard against all covetousness, for one's life does not consist in the abundance of his possessions." Remembering these verses helps me keep things in perspective. They help me remember what's important, and they help me fill my heart with gratitude. We made a really big change in our home this week. So far, it's definitely been for the better. We decided to cover up the TV. We put it on the wall, and we covered it, and we made a new rule. My husband thought it was high time that we did this, and I'm glad we did it. It's definitely better for our home. We are limiting screen time in our home drastically because it had gotten to the point to where important things were not being done. So we decided we needed to do something drastic. The TV now is only used for family times and like weekends. We still have the TV and we still have our favorite shows that we like to watch, and we do use it for rewards. But I'm going to be really honest with you. Since we reduced the screen time, the kids are getting way more outside time. They're having more fun. Nobody has even complained. The kids are getting way more fresh air playing outside, and it's almost like they've been set free. We're going on a little forest date to see if we can find some USNEA.
The trees, they are singing to the tune of a song, and the wind is gently ringing the bell that brings the morning, the welcome of the dawn. Voice of the robin, the call of the dove, the red leaves are falling, the barn owl is calling, the welcome of the dawn.
Nice beard.
The dogs will be howling early morning light. All are happy to be out in the ending of the night, the welcome of the dawn. The nights are turning colder, soon the falling of the frost. Soon the summer will be over. You feel the change is closer at the welcome of the dawn. The trees, they are singing to the a song, and the wind is gently ringing the bell that brings the morning, welcome of the dawn. Though the warm days are over, they are not forever gone. Like the dust brings the night, the summer brings the fall. It won't be long till harvest comes, morning breaks, welcome of the dawn. Daylight is calling, welcome of the dawn.